In March 1939, in a small mountain town called Kust, a quiet priest in round glasses sat down at a wooden desk and signed a piece of paper that made him president of a brand new country. By the next sunset, that country was gone. Not a year, not a week, one day. In those few hours, it did everything a real country does. It picked a flag, an anthem, held a vote, and declared war on an army 20 times its size. All of it between one sunrise and the next. The shortest-lived country in European history was born, fought a war, and died faster than the milk in your fridge goes bad. And here's the part that doesn't make sense. That flag is still flying today, its anthem sung by millions. But the country that gave the world both of them existed for about as long as one really, really bad Monday. So how does a country only last a single day? And how does a one-day country refuse to stay dead 80 years later? To answer that, we have to go back. Meet Czechoslovakia. On paper, a confident young country stitched together after World War I out of the spare parts of the fallen Austro-Hungarian Empire. Inside lived a little of everyone. Czechs in the center, Slovaks to the east, Germans along the western edges, Hungarians underneath. And way out at the far eastern tip, a thin green tail of land that Prague seems to have genuinely forgotten about, sometimes even on its own maps. This is Sub-Carpathian Rus, mountains, forests, wooden churches, about 800,000 people, most of them Ukrainians. No coastline, no oil, no big city, no reason for anyone powerful to care. Its entire job on the map of Europe was, basically, to be a comma. And everything was, let's generously call it, calm. Right up until a man with a small mustache and very large ambitions decided to get involved. In 1938, Hitler decided it was in his way. Instead of invading outright, he did something worse. He carved it up piece by piece and the world just watched. First, Germany took the German-speaking edges in a tidy agreement signed in Munich. Then, sensing a free buffet, Hungary and Poland strolled up to the table too. Okay, Czechoslovakia, new rules. You're handing the German districts over to Germany. What? That's half my industry and every single one of my defensive mountains. Right. And the southern strip? That goes to Hungary. And who exactly decided all of this? We did. The great powers. We signed a paper in Munich. Without you. Without me? It was faster this way. So while Prague was robbed from the west, the forgotten comma in the east was suddenly handed something it never asked for. Self-rule, which translated honestly means, everything over here is on fire, so good luck. You're on your own now. The man left holding it wasn't a general or a politician. He was a priest, Avgustin Voloshin, soft-spoken and devout, who'd spent his life writing school books and sermons. Remember his face, because in a few months, this gentle priest becomes president of a country that lasts exactly 24 hours. And then comes March the 14th, 1939, the day the entire house of cards came down in 24 hours. In the morning, Slovakia declares independence and walks out. By lunchtime, German tanks are rolling into Prague, and Czechoslovakia is over. And the little comma in the mountains looks up and realizes it is now completely, terrifyingly alone. Look at the trap our priest is standing in. The country he belonged to no longer exists. Germans to the west, Hungary to the south and east. And Hungary has been eyeing these mountains for years. There is nowhere to run, and simply surrendering means disappearing quietly without anyone ever noticing you were there. So on March the 15th, a parliament with a gloriously uncatchy name, the Soim, gathers and votes. Carpatho-Ukraine declares independence. In a single afternoon, they choose a flag, blue and yellow, the exact one you'll recognize today. And an anthem, Ukraine has not yet perished. They adopted the motto, we have not yet perished. On the one day in history, they had less than 24 hours left to live. And the quiet priest in glasses is sworn in as president. Congratulations, Reverend. If I were you, I'd cancel my evening plans. Because at the very same moment they raised that flag, 40,000 Hungarian soldiers were already pouring across the border with tanks and artillery. And what did this newborn nation have? Roughly 2,000 men, students, teachers, farmers calling themselves the Carpathian Sikh, clutching old rifles. 40,000 against 2,000. That is not a war. That is a rounding error. And here the absurdity peaks. Voloshin grabs the only straw left and fires off a desperate telegram to Berlin, to Hitler, begging for protection. Sit with that. He is asking Hitler to protect him from Hungary, which is Hitler's ally. Herr Hitler, we're under attack. Hungary is invading. You promised to protect small nations. Please help us. Hungary, that's our friend, yes? Correct, mein Führer. And these little flag people? They're the ones Hungary is invading. Ah, send them a polite reply. Berlin's official advice, do not resist. Translated into plain English, thanks for reaching out. Please die quietly. But they did not die quietly. 2,000 men who never stood a chance picked up their rifles and walked straight out to meet the tank students who'd had an exam the day before, were now manning roadblocks in the snow. It was hopeless. They did it anyway. And here's a detail history loves to skip. This was the very first armed resistance to conquest anywhere in Europe. A full half year before the world officially decided World War II began in Poland. The first people on the continent to shoot back at the new order were a couple thousand kids in the Carpathian Mountains. They lost, of course. When you're outnumbered 20 to 1, courage doesn't change the result. It only changes how the story gets told. Meanwhile, the priest president is scrambling to save anything he can. And he makes one final, desperate move. He turns to neighboring Romania and basically says, take us. Just annex us. Anything. As long as it isn't Hungary. Hello, Romania. Would you like a country? Free? Barely used? What's wrong with it? Well, it does come with a Hungarian army already inside it. Yeah, we'll pass. Romania said no. By nightfall, it was over. Born the 15th, annexed the 16th, crushed by the 18th. And that should have been the end of the story. It wasn't. Before we get to why, countries that live less than a week are not nearly as rare as you'd think. We just quietly delete them from the textbooks because, officially, they didn't really do anything. Take the Republic of Rose Island. 1968. An Italian engineer named Giorgio Rosa built himself a steel platform on stilts out in the Adriatic Sea, declared it a sovereign nation, made Esperanto the official language, and started printing his own postage stamps. An entire country, founded by one very stubborn man with an engineering degree. Italy responded the only way a great power knows how to respond to 50 square meters and a homemade flag. It sent the Navy, and it blew the whole thing up. A nation dynamited into the sea because one man took the word independence a little too literally, and there are dozens more like it. States that survived exactly as long as it took a single telegram to reach the nearest empire willing to say no. The borders you assume are permanent are simply the countries that survived long enough to be drawn in. Everyone else got erased, not for being wrong, just for being small at the wrong moment. But Carpatho-Ukraine is different, because it's the only one that died in a single day and somehow never actually lost. So here's what happened after the lights went out. Hungary held those mountains until the end of the war. Then the Soviet Union swept in and took them, and the little green comma was renamed Zakarpattia, Soviet first, then Ukrainian after 1991. The same patch of land sitting on the map today. And the priest? Avgustin Voloshin was arrested in 1945 and dragged to Moscow, where he died in the Butyrka prison. A man who was president for less than a day paid for it with years of his freedom and then his life. And now, the thing I promised you at the very beginning. The paradox this entire story exists for. The country lasted one day, but everything it created in that one day outlived it by generations. That blue and yellow flag they raised in 1939, it now flies over all of independent Ukraine. That anthem, Ukraine has not yet perished, is sung today by 40 million people. And that motto, which sounded like the cruelest joke imaginable over a nation dying on its first afternoon, turned out not to be a punchline. It turned out to be a promise, which leaves you with a strange thought. You can build a country that stands for 300 years and leaves nothing behind but faded lines on a map, or you can build one that lasts a single day and leave behind a flag, an anthem, and an idea that outlive every empire that tried to kill it. So let me leave you with a question I honestly don't have a clean answer to. What actually makes a country real? Is it time on the map? Because if it is, then Carpatho, Ukraine is just a mistake. A typo wedged between two paragraphs in a history book. A one-day country you're allowed to forget the moment this video ends. Or is a country real because of what it leaves behind? Because if that's the measure, then a state that existed for a single afternoon turned out to be more alive and more permanent than plenty of empires that stood for centuries and then vanished without a trace. A quiet priest in round glasses lost a war in 24 hours. He lost his country, then his freedom, and eventually his life. And yet 80 years later, the flag he raised for one single day now flies over a nation 40 times the size of the one he was trying to save. So who actually lost that day? Think about it. And while you do, I'm going to go find the next country somebody forgot to erase properly.